What's up, guys? Crypto Muser here with your daily news and analysis in the crypto markets. Now, I have first an update in the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Kind of some bad news, but I mean, at the same time, this is something that we've been used to. You know, this thing's been going on for about a year and a half now, so we're not used to, we're very much used to delays in this case from the SEC. James Filan put out a thread yesterday that explained a lot of the ins and outs of how the system within the Southern District of New York legal system works, right? And how the SEC can really, even now, though we are past the discovery phase in this case, now going into the summary judgment, the SEC can really delay on each part of the case, right? So I think they're in settlement talks. I think that the power that the SEC has, obviously, is this delay tactic they've been using. But Ripple, basically, they say they don't even need the Hinman emails. They have enough information, enough facts in this case that they can go to summary judgment next month and win this case. So you have, the battle is going to be basically fought on who has more power in settlement talks, right? I mean, Ripple knows they have the power and the fact that they're going to win the case if it goes all the way. But the SEC knows that they can delay this and hurt Ripple's business. So that's going to be the battle that they're going to have in these settlement talks. But here's the thing. If the SEC wants to delay this thing as much as they can, they can. What James Filan is saying here in this thread is that they can basically, drag this to the end of the year, if not early next year, which is insane to even think about, right? Us in the XRP community, it's just mind-boggling to think that we could be still in this lawsuit by the beginning of next year. I don't think it's going to happen. I think by that time, Ripple would have the Hinman emails, and I know that there's no way the SEC is going to allow them to get those emails. So I think they're basically going to delay as much as they can until the Hinman emails need to be turned over. And at that point, a settlement will come in. But until then, they will use this delay tactic as much as they can. And what James Filan is saying in this thread is that as much as Ripple wants this thing to be moved further along and faster, because it's been going, slow as molasses, as we know in this case, the SEC can really delay this thing a lot with this going into summary judgment here. So I'm not going to read the whole thread. It's like 16 parts to the thread. I implore you guys to check it out. He really breaks it down, just kind of showing us in the XRP community and in the crypto community that this might take longer than we expect, right? But that's without a settlement. I still think a settlement is coming in, and this is just basically James Filan showing the power that the SEC has to delay this case further. So even Jeremy Hogan says, this is a great thread from attorney Filan, which explains the New York court's process for scheduling summary judgment in the Ripple case. He is preparing us for disappointment, with briefing not finished until late this year. Either way, we shall have more info on Friday. So on Friday, that's tomorrow, we have the scheduling. The SEC and Ripple have to get together and talk about this scheduling and the summary judgment scheduling here. So we'll have more information tomorrow. And honestly, if the SEC agrees with Ripple on scheduling, that's a good sign. If they don't agree, because I'm sure, obviously Ripple's going to try to move this forward as fast as possible, trying to get summary judgment done by, June or July. If the SEC comes down and says, no, we want to, finish September, October, obviously they're not going to agree with Ripple. And then there's going to be, then obviously that shows that the SEC is going to try to delay this as much as possible. So we'll find more information tomorrow, but just want to give you guys that quick update. But before I get to the video, if you guys could please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below, it would be very much appreciated. But let's get into it. The SEC, corruption, do I have to say any more, right? The fact that the SEC is going after library, they're going after exchanges, they're going after DeFi. Everything that would help investors in the US, they're trying to disrupt. So obviously they're not protecting investors out there. So I saw this interview that Laura Shin gave on her channel, and just listen. This woman, it's Nikki Kristoff. I think she is the CEO of Kristoff and Co. I guess she's just alumni from Salesforce, Uber. Anyway, listen to her talk about the SEC and how people on Twitter and on social media should be nicer to the SEC, right? Calling them names, and bad mouthing them and attacking them on Twitter is no way to go about doing things. It's bad for business, right? So listen to what you said, and I want to talk about, and I have some other people that had, a lot to say about this.
I do think a lot of the language used toward regulators on crypto Twitter is disrespectful. Calling the chairman of the SEC a vampire or Goldman Gary or calling lawmakers Luddites, that is not an approach that is business advancing. So it depends what your goal is, right? If your goal is to get likes and retweets and attention, that might work. And I'm not a social media expert, but if your goal is to influence policy in Washington, D.C., in Brussels, that language is counterproductive. Good manners cost you nothing. Being disrespectful may cost you something. And I think it's a really bad business decision. Now, I was going to say something vulgar, but instead I'll say echo chamber for how I would describe crypto Twitter. And I have this hunch that everyone's talking to themselves about the same thing. And I actually am an advisor to this company. It's an AI-powered data visualization company called Graphica. And I said, I have a hunch that crypto Twitter, which is this echo chamber, is not actually overlapping with DC influencer Twitter. Can you just pull the data really fast? And they did pull it for me. And in fact, that is the case. So whether or not Senator Warren's social media staffer gets a lot of notifications is neither here nor there. If the tweets that are going out by these really important actors, CEOs, investors, venture funds on Twitter aren't being seen in an effective way by the right people. So there's a disconnect. Only 10% of Americans are even on Twitter. Now, a lot of reporters are on Twitter, but again, I think the tone that I see is not business advancing. It's not being full adult, and it can play into some negative stereotypes about the industry. And it's also the messages aren't even landing with the right audience. And the data shows that. So I'm going to do a little more work on pulling that, and I'd like to think about it a little more, but that was my hunch, and it does show up that there's almost no overlap between the people talking and who they want to tell a story to. If you enjoyed watching this clip...
So, I agree with her somewhat that, but it's crypto Twitter. I mean, it's Twitter as a whole is a cesspool of nonsense, right? But on the other hand, you can't, look what the SEC is doing to ordinary people, to investors, to small businesses. You expect them just to sit back and be nice to them? No. And the best example is Library, and I have a couple tweets from Library that they gave out in response to that interview. But first, I want to talk about Tony Edward here tweeted out about this, and he said, "Hi, Nikki Kristoff, you make some good points, but you did not give the full picture. You did not mention the hypocrisy, lies, and shady behavior coming from Gary Gensler in the SEC. It seems you're trying to be nice to Gary Gensler for your own benefit." And he continues on and says, Coinbase CEO called the SEC shady. Elon Musk, obviously we know what Elon Musk, how he feels about the SEC. He's called them out for everything they did to him. He said he has no respect for the SEC. Folks from Library have documented how the SEC has treated them. The SEC has been trying to have it both ways with Bill Himmon's Ethereum speech, which is a blatant conflict of interest. Not to mention, the efforts of crypto Twitter helped awaken Washington, D.C. about crypto with the infrastructure bill debacle. So it has worked. I mean, tweeting at these, government officials and at the SEC, it has worked before, right? He's talking about that bill, that infrastructure bill that had all that nonsense in it. And, we tweeted out enough. We wrote our senators enough where they listened to us and they took it out of the bill. So as much as, you don't want to be, so immature on Twitter and calling the name calling and stuff like that cannot, maybe that can hurt sometimes, but you have to tweet at them. You have to let them know that you're there, right? And we can argue over the content of how you do that, but you can't just say, just be nice and they'll listen, right? Because that's not the case. They don't care, right? They don't care if you're going to be nice or mean. They really don't care about you anyway. That's what the SEC has shown, and politicians mostly have shown. So, I like I said, I agree and disagree. It can be, said in a better way, more mature. But I have no problem with some of the things that some people say out there. And I have a couple tweets from the library to show that. I mean, if you're going to do what they're doing to the library, they have every right to, defend themselves and, call the SEC out for their corruption and their bully tactics. So library tweeted out, obviously, in defense to that interview here, and he said, we spent 4 years being as polite as possible, and it got us absolutely nowhere. It's hard to imagine how being honest about the corruption and depravity of the SEC could make things worse. I mean, it's so true. The library did everything they were supposed to do. They went in, when the SEC asked them to come in and show us what you were doing, they went in all nice. Actually, the next tweet explains that. I believe this is the one. In 2018, the SEC invited us to speak to them voluntarily. We naively, how can I say that word? We naively, that word, I don't know why I can't say it right now. You know what I'm talking about. We naively agreed. Gave them a presentation going line by line over the Hinman speech. Said we'd be happy to make changes too. They never gave us a word of feedback and just used that information to sue us. Do not talk to the SEC. I mean, this is something that Coinbase talked about too. Coinbase went in, talks about this lending product we wanted to give out. They didn't say anything to Coinbase while they were at the meeting. Basically explained the whole thing. Sorry, my phone rang in. Sorry, guys, I'll turn that off. Basically explained their whole, business, strategy and what they wanted to do with their lending product. And then when they left, they get an email saying, if you guys roll out that product, we're going to sue you. I mean, that's not a productive way to flourish innovation in this country. That's a way to stomp innovation. That's a way to push companies to other countries. It's terrible. That's a terrible thing for the U.S. And what they did with the library, I mean, it's a small company, right? Library was a very small company trying to make it, decentralized YouTube that, trying to do it right. They try to do everything right. And they went in there naively, naive. So naively. There you go. Perfect. Just nailed it. So they went in there, gave them all the information they wanted, was like, give us some feedback. What do you want us to do? How do we do this right? And basically use that information and then sued them. And that has been dragging them through court for the last 4 years, basically putting them out of business. I mean, that's not a way to do this in this free market system, which is supposedly the greatest country in the world. But at sometimes, they question that. They have me questioning that a lot with the way they do things. Now, the last tweet from Library, this is where it gets pretty good. So listen to this. This is in direct response to this interview. Implicit is in the idea that mocking regulators is a bad business decision is an admission of the most fundamental problem. The regulators are not neutral umpires calling balls and strikes. They're political actors simply going after people and companies they personally dislike. Now, listen to what he gets down here. If we made fun of McDonald's, it wouldn't affect the quality of service we receive on the next visit. Evidently, the people regulating cryptocurrency don't have the classiness of a fast food joint. Anyway, this is just a long-winded way of saying that Gary Gensler should gargle our balls. I mean, oh my God. When I read that, I was like, oh, gave it to him. I mean, they went in hard there. They went pretty hard. But I mean, like I said, Library, they basically put Library out of business. Library tried to do everything in their case. They tried to do everything they could do to be in compliance with the SEC, and the SEC basically spat in their face and said, we're going to put you out of business because we don't like what you're doing. I mean, the most un-American thing ever. And like I said, I mean, that's going hard right there with that tweet. And I give him a lot of credit. I mean, when you're having a legal battle with the SEC, and then that's what you say to Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, you gotta have some serious balls. No pun intended. But I mean, you gotta give it to Library though. I mean, that's a small business putting they put hours and time and money and all this effort into creating this business, and then the SEC comes in and basically puts them out of business. That's basically the most un-American thing ever, right? It's a free market system. Let the market be the judge of their business, not, a regulator that's going to be, picking winners and losers here. That's the most, like I said, the most un-American way of doing things. And like I said, LBRY has every right to stand up for themselves. That might not be the best way, but like I said, power for LBRY there. All right, the next thing I want to talk about. John Deaton tweeted this out. There's more information coming out from the Empower Oversight emails. If you guys aren't up to date with what's going on there, Empower Oversight is a government oversight agency that basically used FOIA requests to get emails out of the SEC with Bill Hinman and Simpson and Thacher Group, his law firm that he worked for before, after, and during while he was working at the SEC. He got paid $15 million while he was at the SEC from his law firm. Also that law firm was a member of the Ethereum Alliance. And, Bill Hinman gave this free pass speech to Ethereum while he's at the SEC. And that made, obviously, his law firm, Simpson and Thacher, tons of money. So obviously there's some conflicts of interest there. So we've been getting these emails slowly rolling out here. And once again, we have another email of him having another meeting with someone at Simpson and Thacher. And just listen to the tweet here. So the ethics office said Hinman couldn't have a dinner or meet with the law firm, with his law firm partners he ignored. Can you imagine the ethics office blessing the speech giving ETH a free pass if they knew his firm was a member of the Ethereum Alliance? Each day gets closer to constituting criminal behavior. And this is, he's talking about this tweet here. So this is what we got. Does this mean Hinman shouldn't have the meeting with Chris Lynn from Simpson and Thacher for a cup of coffee to get a report on what's going on in China in August of 2019? Making matters worse, Chris Lynn had clients with matters in SEC enforcement. So, this is exactly what corrupt behavior looks like. You are, working within the SEC, and then you're having private meetings with your supposedly law firm that you don't work for anymore, that also has clients that are in matters in SEC enforcement. You can't do that. That's exactly what the ethics office would be against. So more and more of these emails come out, more and more information we're getting here. It's looking really bad for Bill Hinman and the SEC. We knew they were corrupt. Decades and decades of behavior shows their corruptness, but now they're doing it so blatantly that they don't. He's using his SEC email to talk to these folks. How blatantly corrupt and arrogant do you have to be? Obviously he thought that this was fine, right? So it's so good to see Empower Oversight getting these emails. And I believe, and even John Deaton has stated before, we're going to see a lot more information coming out soon enough. That's going to be, and he even says it's going to be constituting criminal behavior. So look forward to seeing more emails along these lines. So the last thing I want to talk about on the channel is a quick update in Ripple's business. I love talking about just how strong Ripple's business is, even though they're going through this lawsuit within the U.S. with the SEC. They've been spreading around the world with ODL and RippleNet. And this quick interview, this is with Brooke. What's his name? Brooke. He is, hold on, guys. Brooks Entwistle, I guess you pronounce that. He's SVP and MD, APAC, and MENA. I don't even know what that means, but he works at Ripple. So let's just listen to this quick interview here. It's only about 2 minutes long, and we'll end the video here.
We had to go away after developing the XRP ledger and XRP and created the company Ripple and build a use case, which is RippleNet, which we've spent years building across 55 plus countries with global world-class banks, many in this region, and really exciting, forward-looking, forward-thinking fintechs and PSPs that also want to be on that network. But we built it on a fiat-based system because we needed to start there. We needed to have a proof case that we could use our technology to begin to move value across the internet, across a payments infrastructure that is still to this day slow, antiquated, costly, inefficient. Transaction speeds 3 to 5 days, no end-to-end visibility. Did your money get there? Did it get to your family where it's desperately needed not in 3 to 5 days, but in the next hour. It simply wasn't built for this world that we're living in now. So we've, for a long time, focused on using crypto and blockchain for cross-border payments with instant settlement, driving global liquidity, lines of credit, etc. And we believe that there is a bridge here that we've built. And as we think about what we've done in the last year, as we've turned this fiat-based payment system on with crypto and digital assets, 25% of our volume on the network now is done with our on-demand liquidity product, which is putting XRP on these rails, driving settlements and the movement of value extremely fast, extremely efficiently, in a way that is absolutely documented and is done with a very much of an environmentally green approach behind all of it. So we're excited about where this goes, but the fiat basis of what we started is important. So this element of traditional finance and the role in all that we're trying to do is still important. If we do our job and bring traditional finance along with what we're trying to do here, wow, it is an absolutely open field to run on. And we're very much seeing that open field running right now for all of us.
I mean, that gets me pumped. I don't know about you guys. And let's just read Digital Asset Investor's tweet here. There's going to be a day when people will say, wait a minute, you owned XRP before it went mainstream? I feel sorry for anyone who hadn't seen what we've seen. The truth is right in front of our eyes. I mean, it's so true. I mean, hearing something like this, right? Where, I mean, I've been in this for 4.5, 5 years now, and I've started with, XRP and Ripple. So I've done, hours and hours of research of what they've been doing, what they've been trying to do, and, the process and everything they've done up to this point. And the fact is they basically, created RippleNet, which was the same messaging system as Swift, but, updated, right? Was more digitized and, more user-friendly. And they basically rolled out that first, got banks on board, right? And once banks were on board with RippleNet, then they basically slid an ODL where they use XRP, right? So they got them comfortable. You get all these banks comfortable with your software and everything you're doing, and it's basically the same process as Swift, a messaging system without the settlement, right? The settlement still takes 3 to 5 days. It's just more efficient with RippleNet, more user-friendly. They're connecting all these banks together, right? So it's basically updating the Swift system. But then once you get the banks, comfortable with your software, then you slide in ODL and using XRP, and then it's instant settlement, right? So banks are already used to your software, but now they're like, oh wow, we can just slide in XRP here. Everything is basically the same, and then you're making it that much quicker, right? Instead of 3 to 5 days, now you're 3 to 5 seconds. That's a game changer. That's an absolute game changer. And as soon as banks, and they already start using it, you're seeing that, banks, not in the US obviously because of the lawsuit, but banks in Japan, banks in Singapore, banks in the Middle East, they're starting to roll in and using ODL. As he said at the end of the interview there, 25% of their users are now using ODL, utilizing XRP. And that's only going to grow with time. And as soon as this lawsuit's over, guys, I mean, that's opening up Pandora's box there, right? Obviously, U.S. business is the biggest in the world. I mean, you think companies in the U.S. aren't seeing what's happening in other countries and how much money they're saving, how much time they're saving with using ODL and RippleNet? I mean, as soon as they get the okay and XRP has clarity, I'm telling you guys, the streams of money are going to come into this like you've never seen before. I don't want to get you hyped up too much, but guys, do some research. Don't listen to me, right? Do your own research. Understand what's going on here. Understand what Ripple's trying to do. Understand what XRP is being utilized for. So I'll end the video there, guys. Just remember, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. But remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Please do not take anything I write or say as financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. And thanks, guys. And we'll see you on the next one.